Sorry, can you start it again? I'm sorry, I was not ready. Start one more time. Tell us your name again.
Hello, my name is Sheng Yuan. The subject knowledge, both subject skill and English skill that I learned in the interpreters of melody in English class that impact me because this help me analyze a books, and this is important for me to push the colleges. Learning about interpreters of melodies in my English class impacts my knowledge both in various ways. For example, I was impressed by in the books we can see a lot of things that Mr. Sense assimilate to in Americans. This impacts me because I moved to United States. There are many things that I need to assimilate. I need to communications with people in use English. Additionally, in English class, my English was impacted by two stories from the collections Interpreters of Melodies Communications. Means the foundations of the jazz. It was the way we trace information. The words impact me because it let me know the I need to assimilate in Americans that I need to talk with the people in English. The evidence is I'm learning English. Study interpreters of melody also help me develop important skills. This skill is important to understand a story in the reading style. We do a lot of practice on this. When I read interpreters of melodies, I don't know what's the story talking about when I practice, and it's use my phones to translate some words. I don't know the dance. I use my words to say it. Finally, I understand what the story says. Through the small contrast the messages about the two different stories impacts my skill because this helps me find the difference between two stories. Contrast means find the difference between two homomorphisms that you write in the essays. The skills are important because this skill can help me do better on reading guides. Let me understand what's the important things that the audio says and help me to go to college. Finally, I compress these two stories by drawing diagrams to finish my essays. These skills are important because this skill can help me do better on readings of books. Let me understand what's the important things that audio shows and want to show. In addition to the skill and knowledge I learned in these units, I also improved my English in various ways. I was impressed by paraphrasing because it helped me understand. Paraphrasing help me understand what it says. The impact of this practice is illustrated by the fact that after I paraphrase, understand the whole story meanings. Is in addition to interpreters of melodies, I improve my English by improve grammar, spellings, and English pronunciation by adding and resist our essays. That means I should start on the computers with no wrong words and spellings, grammars, and this is important for me to write an essay. After we finish this, meter plots help me to check out and then correct it. This impacts me because I found some words, grammar, spellings, those I don't know before. After these units, I can read books and understand by paraphrasing, analyze, and compare.
Okay. That's a question.
What was the name of the other story that you with the other resides in their model?
Miss
Mrs. N. Start out. Same as Mrs.
What was the differences and similarities between those stories?
The same is Miss Sense and Mr. That's both things both things the Indian country is important for them. The difference is Miss Sense thinks the Indian country is important for us, but Miss Stas thinks the American country is important for her.
Why is it important to use evidence when you explain about the theme of story?
Because this can help me understand the story.
So when you write an essay about the theme of a story, why is it good to use evidence?
It's good to use evidence because it gives the credit to the story.
Gives the credit to the story.
How did the actions or dialogue of a character show their attitude, in one of the interpreted melody sequence?
Can you say again?
How did the actions or dialogue of a character show their attitude in one of the interpreted of melody sequence?
So I can say in a different way. In one of the stories, you read two stories by Jhumpa Lahiri. In one of the stories, how did the action or the dialogue show the attitude of one character?
Slides. Mr. Das thinks the Indian country is not important for them, and he says he was born in Americans. Can you let me think better about Mr. India?
Why is paraphrasing useful?
Because it can let us understand what we said.
When you are doing a reading guide and you are waiting for other people in your group to finish writing, what useful things can you do?
I will translate some words that I don't know.
What was the most challenging?
The most challenging when you read a story, you don't know what it's talking about.
Do you see any connection between your life and the stories that we read in Interpreter of Melodies? Either Mrs. Da's story or the Interpreter of Melodies story. Is there anything similar to your life in the story?
The assimilations, because I am trying to assimilate in Americans.
And in the story, how does assimilation, how is it similar in one of the stories?
They are both born in. They have the different race in Americans, as they are trying to assimilate in Americans.
In which story?
Miss
So, who was born in America in Mrs. Sen's story? Who was born in America? You said in Mrs. Sen's story they were born in America. Is that what you said? Or no?
Yeah.
Who? So you said they were born. Who was born?
Galtos is
The little boy, Elliot. Uh-huh. And so in Mrs. Sen's story, who is assimilating? Who is trying? You said in your life you are trying to assimilate to America. So in Mrs. Sen's story,
in Miss Sen's story, Miss Sen's is trying to assimilate.
Mrs. Sen is trying to assimilate because where is Mrs. Sen born? Where is she from?
She is from India.
Okay, one more question. How about this one? When you use a quote in an essay, what do you need to do before and after the quote? What words do you use before and after the quote?
Quotations mark.
Okay, so the punctuation is the quotation mark, but what words do you use before the quote and then after the quote? Like when you wrote your essay, for example, what words do you put before the quotation and then after?
By create languages.
Say it.
By create languages.
I don't understand. By create languages? Like, so in your essay, like, when you use the quote is like part of the story, right? The example from the story, and you copy it and you put it into your essay, and you put the quotation marks. But before the quotation marks, before the quote, you need to do something, some words, and then after the quote, you have some other words. So what words do you put before, and what words do you put after?
The quotations of the book name.
Okay, so after you need to have the book name. What about before the quote?
Quotation mark.
And before the quotation mark, what words do you need to? So like in the beginning of the paragraph, so let's say you're starting a new paragraph. You're starting a new paragraph. You want to use some evidence from the story. You want to use a quote. So when you start the new paragraph, do you start just with the quotation mark and the quote? Or what comes before the quotation mark and the quote?
The citation.
The citation comes after. That's the one where you said it tells you what story and what page. What comes before? You did it in your essay. I just want you to understand it, to explain it. It's okay if you don't remember. They don't know the answer either. I think they're not sure. Okay. Can I help you? Okay. So, in the beginning of the paragraph, you can't start with just the quote from the story. You have to introduce it. You have to say something before the quote. You have to say, like, in the story, Mrs. Sen, Lahiri writes, or in this story or in this poem, it shows why there's a problem, and then you put the evidence to quote. Yeah. Okay, no problem. That's a hard question. I think everyone has. Everyone is not sure. That's a very hard question. Okay. Thank you, Shaman. All right.